All right, traders, what's up? Live from Indianapolis and streaming across the planet. This is Shane with Futures IO. Pleased to have you here today, and thank you for joining us for our 428th webinar event. Futures IO is a trading community dedicated to transparency and bringing you quality education with webinars such as this. The basic membership is free. Our YouTube channel hosts over 400 videos covering just about any trading topic you can think of. Check it out when you get a chance. Smash a few like buttons while you're there. Share it with your friends and definitely subscribe for all the latest updates. And then finally, on social media, you can follow us on Facebook and also on Twitter at FuturesIO. Today in the house, we've got Jeremy Tang and Zach White from SharkIndicators, and the topic is Bloodhound Fundamentals 101. We're going to have a Q&A session after the presentation, so please enter your questions into the Q&A box. If we don't get to yours, it'll be posted over at the Futures IO webinar thread. And as always, the event's being recorded and it'll be posted over at Futures IO and YouTube within 48 hours. Without further delay, please join me in welcoming Jeremy Tang and Zach White. How's it going, guys?
Doing good. How are you?
Hanging in there. I got my afternoon coffee. I think I'm ready.
Yeah. All right, let me see if I can steal the screen. Okay. You guys all see my screen? Okay, there should be like a disclaimer up.
Yeah, looking good here.
Looking good? Okay. Well, thanks for the introduction, Shane. It's always a pleasure presenting to you guys at Futures IO. Both Zach and I find you guys are one of the more sophisticated crowds out there. And but what we're going to do today is actually sort of rewind the clock a little bit. And go back in time and talk a little bit about how we came to be. And actually, we're gonna discuss our main product, Bloodhound, which was our first product, why it was built, and what our company is all about, and kind of how Bloodhound encompasses most of our company's philosophy. So, with me as well as Shane mentioned is Zach White. How are you doing? Are you okay?
Mic's off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Doing great. Got my coffee. So
Yeah, and it looks like you're at a beach there too.
As mentioned earlier. That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's our goal, right? Is to trade from the beach. And someday I'll trade in the coffee for a Mai Tai. Pina colada, whatever. Yeah.
So Zach and I met, what was it? 2011 or 2012, something, probably earlier actually.
I think it was 2010.
2010. That sounds about right. And it was actually on a forum, and we actually I think met on either Futures IO, which at the time was named Big Mike Trading. So if you guys have been around long enough, you'd know that sort of dates us.
That's right. It's dating yourself there.
Yeah, and actually he approached me, wondering if we could work together and build a trade system, as probably a lot of you guys are doing. You guys are probably collaborating with each other. If not, I definitely recommend it. And Futures IO is absolutely a great place to do that, to find contacts and like-minded individuals. And so that's actually how Zach and I met. And he approached me and he's like, you know what, we're both programmers. We're both technically adept. So, maybe we could build a trade system instead of having to trade it, because we were both sort of in the mindset that, we want to be able to scale, be able to trade without emotion, that sort of thing. And of course, having a computer do it for you would be ideal. And the reason why I was like so gung-ho about it was because a couple of years before, or actually no, maybe it was a few months before Zach and I met. This is like pretty hazy now. This is a while ago. I actually did try to trade live for the first time, and man, I tell you, it's been more than 10 years, and I still remember it. And the reason why is because it was stressful. I was in a course somewhere where the instructor was teaching these simple trade systems. And one of the trade systems that he was teaching was this 10 or sorry, 80-20 cross, an 80-20 SMA cross, a very simple system where you just had an 80 SMA and a 20 SMA. And when they crossed up, you went long. When the 20 crossed below the 80, you went short. And it was one of those systems that you were basically in the market all the time, either long or short. And the presenter up there was like, you just got to trade it. It's going to, if the market's trading sideways, it's going to, you're going to lose a little bit of money in each trade. But where it really makes a lot of money is on these long sort of trends. So if you have a trending market, you'll do very well. And of course, me not knowing anything and being cocky and thought, oh, geez, this is simple. I just got to put those 2 indicators on, trade it live, and you're going to make bank. I'm going to make a lot of money, just like this presenter was showing his returns and whatever. I'm like, yeah, this is going to be easy. I'm going to take it all the way to the bank and I can retire and life will be good. So I threw a couple $1,000s into a trading account, didn't do any training, didn't do any sort of live practice or, in a sim account, like most of you guys probably know that's a good idea. And I just went straight at it, put my first trade down. Of course, it got stopped, or not stopped up, but got reversed, and had a loss of about $200. I'm like, okay, not a big deal. I know kind of how this is supposed to go. The second trade, lost another 200. And that was only a span of like 5 or 6 minutes. Third trade was another loss of about 400 some odd dollars. So at this point, I was about $800 out, down. And this one of those things where it teases you, you think you're going to make some money, and all of a sudden the market reverses, and then the signal goes, and you're out and at another loss. And by the time the fourth signal came, I was like, I could not will myself to press the mouse button to execute the next trade. I was shaking, like my heart, like I had never felt more stressed in my life, and my heart was just pounding out of my chest. It was a really odd experience. I did not think that would happen to me from an emotional level, and it just, and so that's why I still remember it. And so, kind of with my tail tucked between my legs, I relayed the experience to Zach, and he's like, well, Jared, I've actually been studying this guy for a couple months now, and he's pretty good. He's quite consistent. He actually has been making some consistent returns in the market, and you're a good programmer. All you got to do, why don't you implement what he's doing? Just write it in code, and we'll have an automated trading robot that essentially can do what he does, and we won't even have to, we just have to turn the computer on in the morning, let it go. We won't have to do any thinking, stressing, whatever, kick the feet up, just watch the money roll in. And so I'm like, yeah, it sounds pretty simple in concept, and what he's doing can't be magical. We just gotta mimic what he does. And pretty soon it became apparent that as most things are, once you sort of uncover the stuff beneath the surface, things are a lot harder than they seem from the outset. And one thing immediately that was apparent was that he was constantly evolving his trade system. And he actually had a full-time programmer on staff that really couldn't keep up with the changes with his system. And so as time went on, we started to realize that this is not just this particular discretionary trader, but a lot of really good discretionary traders will actually do that. They'll actually continuously kind of go through this cycle where they're constantly trying new ideas, they're constantly refining their trade system. And the long and short of it is, as fast as I am at coding, by the time I had something implemented, the next week there were changes involved in it. So it was like a never-ending race. I could not keep up. It sort of brings me to this whole thing. Zach and I sat down. We're like, you know what? I think we're kind of going around this the wrong way, because at this point, we're never going to build a system and be able to keep up with this guy. Not to mention, there are lots of other really good traders out there. They're doing quite successfully, and they're doing the same sort of thing. And so really, when we looked at it, there are two different kind of indicators. And this is the mistake but so this is the approach we were making before was we were trying to create what we call a static indicator, something that had maybe some parameters that you could tweak about it, but by and large, you would trade the same way. You really couldn't fundamentally change how the static indicator behaved, and it's really inflexible. And I would surmise that most of the systems, like systems that you buy off the shelf, are really of this nature, where they're really just, they take one idea, and like I said, you can probably tweak a little bit about it, but you really can't fundamentally change the way it is. And the problem with that kind of stuff, that kind of indicator, is that it doesn't really adapt to either to you or the market, or a different time frame or / instrument. So what we ended up doing was we decided the best way to go about this is let's create what we call a malleable indicator, an indicator that can be fully customized 100%, using not relying on any particular other indicators, like something you can plug in. You can plug in any kind of indicator, any kind of data that you'd like into it, and have it generate your own custom signals on the fly. And actually, at this point, we were really having a lot of fun with this. And really, that's kind of, that's how things evolved. And so what a malleable indicator allows you to do is it allows you to create your own trade system using your own trading rules and your own style, not anyone else's. And then most importantly, you can now, with an indicator like that, be able to go through this creative process where you can create your indicators, or create your trade signals, I should say, and evolve it over time. You can test new ideas, and then you can just go back to the drawing board and just sort of tweak it and just go through this continuous cycle. And it's really what really sets a successful trader apart from say an amateur, is an amateur will just take one idea, go with it, and bump their head against the wall and kind of never get past that. Whereas a professional or really a good discretionary trader will continuously be evolving their trade system as the market evolves and as their trading style evolves as well. And so that's really where our product Bloodhound comes in, because it is the ultimate malleable indicator. It allows you to create your own trade system and go through that creative process. And I think actually at this point, the best thing to do is probably pass the buck off to Zach here and have him show you exactly what it does.
All right, sounds like that's my cue. Okay, just a moment while I switch over the video feed. Okay, there we go. All right, well, cool. So yeah, I get to demonstrate Bloodhound in action, and to kind of illustrate, this malleable design, that Jeremy's talking about. I'm going to take, an existing template here that we have, and we call these systems that you build in Bloodhound templates. Really, it's a NinjaTrader term, right? So if you build a chart that you like, you can save that chart template, right? So you're saving all the indicator settings and chart properties and things like that. So same thing, same concept applies to Bloodhound here, where, when you've built a system here, you save it out, as a template, and it saves in that template, saves all your internal settings, things like that. So, so I have this template here that was created by one of our salespeople way back in the beginning of the company here. And as you can see in this particular template, it is a bounce signal here. And it was designed specifically to work with the 3-line break bar. So if you're not familiar with the 3-line break bar, it is a kind of interesting bar. It's kind of like a hybrid between a Renko chart, or like you could say it's a Renko chart, but applied to a minute chart or a tick chart or a volume chart, something like that, right? So it's this kind of hybrid between, you know, a minute tick volume type chart, and a Renko. So, and we here at Shark, we actually have a back testable line break, you know, so Renko charts and line break charts are kind of one of the few exceptions where they're not really back testable. And so, you know, with our bar here, when we first launched it, I'm not sure when, maybe 2014, something like that, I think, when we came out with it, our salesperson thought it would be a great idea to also accompany a little template with it, you know, for the existing Bloodhound users. So, you know, so if as you're kind of probably already scanned through the chart, right, you can see whenever the line break reverses off of this moving average, right, basically it's kind of like the definition of a bounce trade there. Right, we're getting these signals, and you know, when you go purely mechanical and you just kind of build a system, you know, obviously not all of these signals are going to be good tradable signals. So kind of like, let's see, well, it's not really a good example here. Let me go back and let's see if I can find some here. Well, I guess here's kind of an idea. We're basically, you know, a lot of systems, whenever the market starts to consolidate, you know, that's basically kind of the trouble that Jeremy was having. Is his first experience was the market was consolidating, and of course, you know, you don't really get good trend signals when the market's consolidating here, right? So you know, so this Bloodhound template, you know, the way it was built is it's just the raw bounce signals. You know, if you look at them mechanically, you know, they are all bounce signals, you know, but of course, as a trader, you know, do you really want to just take every single signal? You know, probably not. So what I'm going to demonstrate in Bloodhound is part of its malleable nature. So, you know, first of all, just being able to put together a system, you know, using nodes and not having to program is kind of like the first benefit is, you know, rapid prototyping. And then the second one is applying filters, right? So basically making a system malleable would mean, you know, as you grow as a trader, you know, and as you watch these webinars and you pick up little nuggets of information, right, you want to add all these little nuggets of information to your trading style, you know, and so you're slowly kind of advancing your own knowledge and also, you know, applying that to the chart and you know, making your system more malleable, right? So what I'm going to do here is apply some filters to these raw signals to try and kind of clean up, you know, some of these signals that just, you know, obviously in hindsight, some of these signals that just don't look too good, right? So this being a bounce signal system here, you know, one of the kind of the first things that you really should be looking for in a bounce signal is, you know, you want the market to be in a trend, a bit of a trend, right? At least you want the market to look like it's in the beginning of a trend, right? And of course, that's going to make the best bounce signals. So for example, actually, I am missing an indicator here. Let me just throw this on my chart real quick. All right, there we go. So, you know, for example, obviously that looks like a great signal to trade, and that looks like a good signal to trade, you know, whereas over here, you know, these are kind of questionable. And one of the easy things to kind of spot is the slope of this moving average, you know, whatever moving average you're using, you know, to bounce off of, you know, obviously as the market trends, you're going to get a steeper and steeper slope on that. Right. So that's kind of like, one of the fundamental things of a bounce system is you want some kind of a slope to it. And so you would want to kind of filter out any signals where, your moving average kind of flattens out, identifying the consolidation there. So let's add that as one of our first kind of filters here. So actually, yeah, I'll just jump right into it. And then I have some other kind of simple things here to show you guys later too. So, right, so we have basically the raw system here. And what I'm going to do, slide that down a little bit. And I am going to grab a slope solver here. So all of these nodes in blue, we call them solvers because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to solve a condition for you, right? And so one of the conditions we're trying to solve is, does my moving average have a steep enough slope, in where I should be trading this, right? So identifying the steepness of that slope is what we're trying to solve for. So if I connect this in, and let me zoom in here a little bit there. And this moving average is a 50 EMA here, just a simple 50 EMA. So in this slope node, I'm going to put in the 50 EMA. So you can see that Bloodhound has its own indicator selector window here. And pretty much all of the NinjaTrader indicators, they're designed for plots, right? So any kind of indicator that basically has a plot will work just fine with Bloodhound. So so if I select the EMA there, and of course I need to adjust the period to a 50 so it matches what's on my chart. Click that in there, and right away I can see the basics of the slope solver, which is just simply identifying, is my moving average sloping down? And you're going to get a red or a short output. And if that moving average is sloping up, then you're going to get a green or a long output. So Bloodhound is, specifically designed, for trading, right? So either you're trading long or you're trading short, right? Obviously, there's no such thing as trading flat. So, Bloodhound's output is specifically geared to kind of identify either a trade direction, or a market trend. It depends on the type of system you're wanting to put together as a trader. So that's why in the slope solver, when the moving average is sloping up, most people use that as a long indication, right? A long trend indication there. And one of the other things that we can do with this is we can check the slope. We can add, minimum slope requirements, right? Or a maximum slope requirement. So I'm going to put in there a half a tick. So a half a tick is usually a pretty good starting point for, that actual tick amount or that slope amount varies on a couple of different components. One of them would be the instrument, how many ticks are in a point. Also the volatility of that instrument. So let's see, this is the ES. So it's not extremely volatile. Something like the NQ where, that's really volatile, or the YM lately, right? Then, adjusting that tick slope amount, is kind of necessary depending on the volatility. But so we can see here, so just kind of keeping on with the theme here, we can see that when our moving average kind of flattens out there, that now that node has no output. So it's only identifying the steeper sloping areas there, right? So that's kind of one simple way, that us as humans kind of filter out. If we're using a moving average in our system, that's kind of one way that we eyeball things and kind of figure out intuitively about, kind of trade filtering. And so that's kind of basically what Bloodhound's geared towards doing is, taking what humans do and kind of incorporating it and, making this, malleable type of system here. So let's see here. I should probably give this a name here. So let's just call this the EMA 50 slope solver. And so now let me connect in the raw signals. So here's the raw signals. Shrink that up. And now if I connect in my slope solver, there, we can see a whole bunch of signals just disappeared. And only the ones where that moving average, right, is fairly steep are kept. So we did actually lose a pretty good signal here that I circled, right? I put the circle around that good one. So, what we probably should do is go back and adjust our slope. So let's see if, I'm at 0.4. So if we go in here and make a quick adjustment, let's see if we get that signal back. So, and let's see here. Oh, let me correct that, put a space in there. There we go. And there we go. So I lowered the slope requirement just by a fraction of a tick. And now I have this good signal back there. Right. And these other, main ones, basically, or these other ones here where, the market's kind of beginning to consolidate there had disappeared. Right. So there's one example. And another thing that we also like to see, and let's see if I can find an example, a recent example here. Let's see if I can find a recent example. Let's see, I think I'm gonna have to go back a ways. Yeah, here we go. I think this will work out here. So right here we can see the market is kind of consolidating again, right? So more market consolidation in this area here. Although it does actually meet, right, the slope of that EMA. So we're still getting signals. So, the EMA is sloping, but, we can still see that there's, appears to be some consolidation. And of course, consolidation is probably one of the more trickiest things to, define mechanically. The consolidation is definitely very subjective to the time frame, the chart style the chart type that you're using, the instrument and things like that. So, but generally speaking, one of the things that makes a good bounce signal, and I probably need to kind of scroll back here. Yeah, something like this. This is what really kind of helps define a good bounce signal is you get a nice move up, where the market basically pulls away from the mean or it's pulling away from your moving average, right? And you get this nice move away from the mean. And then, your bounce signal is basically waiting for the market to return back to the mean or your moving average, right? So seeing this kind of separation here of the market makes a good bounce signal. And so back here, right, we're missing that separation. So, the market is basically kind of crisscrossing our moving average, quite a bit. quite a few times. And so another thing I can do is we do have this one node here. So this node is comparing the close of the bar to the EMA 50. And it's doing a simple type of comparison, right? Is the close of the bar below the EMA? So we can see on this long short run here, right? All the closing prices are below. And then if the close is above our EMA, we're getting a long. So what's going to happen here is, right, when you get these nice separations, well, you get a whole bunch of bars in a row where the price has been above our moving average, or if this had turned into a good short bounce, all these bars were below that moving average, a lot of them, right? A whole bunch of quantity wise there. So what I can do is here we can see that these bars are crossing below the EMA, then above it, and then below it, and so we're not getting a consistent, long run of either a short output or a consistent long run of a long output. Right? So what I can do is I can take this node and let me move it up there. There, I'll just do some little adjustments there. And I have, Bloodhound has a counting function nodes. We call these function nodes here. And so I can kind of count the number of bars, or I can put like a minimum bar count requirement here. So I can say, the market needs to be above the EMA, X number of bars, before a signal is considered, or before the bounce signal is considered a valid signal, right? So what I'll do is connect that into the input there, and let me connect that up to the result. And then in the signal counter, let's say we need at least 15 bars there. 15 bars, of the market being above the EMA. And we can do, say, something like, I need 15 out of the last 18 bars needs to be above, right? And I'm going to switch the output there. And so when I do that, we have some additional filtering. So let's take this short run, for example, right? So when the market first begins its short run, right, we can see there's no output. There's no red shading here. And so just to help with terminology, we call the red background and the green background, we call those racing stripes. It was kind of a cool nickname that a buddy of ours kind of called these things. So
Yeah,
Jeremy and I, Noel, yes.
No, he always had like interesting nicknames for almost anything we did, it seemed.
Yeah, he was a good Southern dude, man. He had some great isms. So
he was like, what do you call these them racing stripes?
Right. Yeah. He just started calling them racing stripes because we were all kind of struggling what to call these things instead of saying shaded background. So yeah. So when you get these, so we can see when the market starts in this downtrend, right? The first 15 bars, there's no racing stripes, no output. And then once we get to our minimum bar requirement, then we start getting these racing stripes. And again, this is just a filter here, filtering mechanism, telling us that, yes, the market has been on the correct, the bars have been on one side of the moving average, for the minimum number of bars, that we would consider a good clean bounce signal. And so we can see over here, where my rectangle is, that, as the market is crisscrossing, it's not meeting our minimum number bar goal here. And then eventually, the market does stay above that EMA, for a minimum number of bars there. And again, this has a look back period. So it's not really strict. Remember, I said that for this, for our look back, when this signal counter, when it looks back 18 bars and needs only 15 of the last 18 bars to meet that requirement. If I wanted to, I could make it stricter and just say, okay, out of the last 15 bars. And now we can see, right, a lot of the racing stripes disappeared. So it made it really, really a lot stricter, right? So, and of course, trading is about flexibility, being flexible with the market, not being too hard-coded with things. So let me kind of put that back to 18. And so I'm just going to kind of start with this as just kind of a ballpark range here, something to start with. So yeah, so then we have that. So now let's connect that. Actually, let me connect up the result node and let's see what we have here. Yes, we still have some signals. And actually, I should mark these.
A lot of, especially like trending systems, it's like strategies to avoid the chop, as they call it.
Yeah, right. Avoiding the chop. So that's basically, yep. Jeremy kind of nailed the terminology. That's what I'm doing here, is trying to cut out the chop from just the raw bounce signals. And so we can see, right, that counter, making sure that there's a minimum number of bars, above or below our moving average, at least eliminated 2 of these signals here, 2 of these, and it kept this third one here, and so if we kind of really zoom in here, if we look, yeah, most of these bars were actually above our moving average. We actually had 1 bar there where the closing price was below it. So that's why this one qualified here, So again, you can decide, do you want to put in a more stricter, rigorous rules? So, so that even this 1 bar kind of disqualifies the signal. And, if you've been a proponent of watching these Futures IO videos here, anybody that talks about system building will kind of tell you that the stricter you make things, then really it just it degrades the system. So you don't want to go too strict. You're right. So there's always going to be a certain number of signals that are just going to be bad, but if you remove too many, if you put in too many stringent filtering, then pretty much you're going to strip out all the good signals. So you want to leave some flexibility in there.
Yeah, and if you think about it, the occasional loss is fine as long as you're not eliminating some of those big winners. If you start creating a system that and all you're looking at is just taking out the losses, then and then you take away some of those big winners as well, then your system might actually not be profitable in the end. So what Bloodhound actually lets you do, which is really nice, is you can make a change and then you can scroll back and forth like Zach is doing right now in the chart, and you can see immediately the effect of your change, and then you can make an assessment as to whether or not you think that was too strict, or maybe it was better before you had it, or it's better now.
Yep. So, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take what I've done here, and I'm going to make 2 sets of signals so we can compare our changes to the raw signals here that we just did in real time. So let me connect this up and remove that. So what I'm doing here is you can see I have a and node. So, you know, when you think about, you know, a set of trading rules, you're saying I need this condition and I need condition B and I need condition C and I need condition D, right? Yeah, so when you're building a system, so whether you're a programmer, you know, or even or if you're just a discretionary trader and you're thinking about it in your head, you know, you are basically going through a set of rules and saying, I need this, and I need, you know, I need to see this, and I need to see this, and this, and this on the chart. Um, and so, as it just happens to be, you know, with programming, you know, programmers called those and nodes, right? Or and logic. So I'm using it. So I'm creating another and node here, so I can make basically another system here. And let's see, one more node there. And so now I can flip between, and let's see here. So, yeah, so here's the raw bounce signals, and then basically here's my filtered ones. And so, so we can see this and node's called the raw signals, and this one up here, call that the filter signals. And then one of the really cool things that I like to do is you take an OR node, and this is a little bit of a Bloodhound. So for any of you guys out there that already have Bloodhound, you know, it's a neat little tip I like to show Bloodhound users here is I can use OR nodes, and I'm just going to whip through this really quickly here. There. So with the set of OR nodes, what I can do is if you look on the chart, right, we have these half signals here, right, or half of an output here. And so that allows me to see the original raw bounce signals, but we don't get a racing strike, right? So I can see them, but you know, I'm not being alerted on the chart with an actual racing strike. So that kind of allows me to do a very simple and easy visual comparison of the changes that I made, right? So I can see the raw signals there, and then I can see, you know, the actual signals that did make it through after applying my filtering there, right? So if we kind of scroll through, right? Oh yeah, so looky here. So we can see, if you look at Bloodhound, right, there's all kinds of signals there. And, you know, most of these have all been removed during this extensive consolidation period, right? And we can see a couple of them, actually, no, just one made it through out of all of those. Yeah, one did make it through. And, you know, if you actually look at this in context, that actually looked like that could have been the beginning of a nice uptrend, right? So we had a nice downtrend, and then we see the market had made some a new high, a higher low, a new high, a higher low, you know, so the market was stair stepping up. So, you know, if we saw that in real time, you know, that does look like the beginning of a good, you know, good is subjective, but that does look like the beginning of an uptrend, you know, so that might have been noteworthy. But, you know, obviously in hindsight, we can see that it, you know, it didn't actually work out. But then again, let's see. No, this was actually, Yeah, this was an hour before the market was going to close. So yeah, this was an hour before the market closed. And just so happened to be that day that, the market just wanted to kind of flip flop around until it did close. So, um, yeah, but, the point being is, at a quick glance, you can see all the raw bounce signals that were stripped out, with a couple of nodes here to try and kind of define some consolidation periods and strip that out. So, yeah. So let's see here. Where are we at? Okay, yeah. So that's all the time I have here. And so I'm gonna have to turn this over. And before I do, just to let everybody know that these modifications and this template is free to all the Bloodhound users. And if you're on the trial too, we are going to make this template freely available. So, but do keep in mind though that it was specifically kind of designed to work with a line break chart. So it may work with regular minute charts or Renko charts. I'm not sure, but just kind of keep in mind that it was designed for the line break charts there. So with that, Jeremy, all right, let me hand it back over to you.
All right, sure. I'm gonna wrap up here. And
Guys in the audience, if you got any questions, go ahead and pop them into the Q&A box.
Yeah, time to get those questions queued up there, guys.
yeah, there's two of me here that can answer.
That's right.
I mean, we kind of look alike, right?
That's right. Which one's the Tang and which one's not?
The only way you'd be able to tell the difference if you put some sunglasses on, then I think that would not confuse people. Then otherwise they're going to think we're the same person. Okay, thanks, Jeremy. I mean, Zach, for that demo. I'm just going to summarize a little bit about Bloodhound, what you saw there. Again, the idea being that you can use our tool to create any sort of trade system that suits you. In no way does Bloodhound kind of pigeonhole you into some sort of particular trading system or methodology or style. Really, you just kind of you think of Bloodhound as like a canvas, and you're the artist, and you can use it to paint signals to your heart's desire, and then you can tweak it and change it. And really, what that enables you to do is actually come to an actual profitable system quickly without having to code. And that's a big deal. If you've ever gone as far as actually trying to hire a coder and then trying to explain the system to your developer, and then of course they're going to charge a fair bit of money to do that. Coding is definitely a very skilled profession. It's going to add up quickly, and you're going to find, of course, that when you want to make changes and adjustments, as you probably will end up doing, it's going to cost you even more. So when you really think about just the time savings and the money savings involved with just buying a tool like ours, it really over a lifetime, it's significant. So that was just sort of a taste of how to use Bloodhound. You did see a couple solvers there. You saw the slope solver. You saw how a simple bounce off an EMA can be done, or rather you saw it implemented, I should say. Again, as Zach mentioned, that template does come free. And if you stick around a second, I'll give you kind of like some instructions on how to get a hold of that template. But nonetheless, we actually do have a lot of support resources when you do buy our products. Support is actually one of the things we focus a lot of our company resources on, the vast majority of them, in fact. We have a ton of online documentation and videos, unlimited email support, and that goes for both people that have bought the product or just trying it out. And one of the most significant things is we have a live workshop that Zach runs every week, and these are great for if you just got questions about like how to use the product, or maybe you have a trading idea and you just don't really know how to go about doing it. Just simply ask Zach in a live session, and he'll just do it right in front of you. So it's kind of like and Zach, how many people would you say attend these workshops? Like how big of a crowd do you normally
It's
get?
seasonal. So like right now is the peak summer, vacation months. And so even retail traders go away for a vacation. And of course, we've all been cooped up for a year. So I'm sure people are really eager to get out and get out of the house. So the workshops are slowing down, as far as attendance and questions and whatnot. But of course, they will pick up, usually towards the end of July. And then again, they slow down during the Christmas holidays, the winter holidays, so to speak. But spring and fall, yeah, the trade rooms are pretty packed. There's can be anywhere from 8 to 20 people sometimes. Yeah, this spring, well, last year, when we were all cooped up at home, everybody was wanting to become a trader, and the workshops were really packed. But even recently, like the last month, I've seen up to 20 people in the room there. So
Yeah, so it's basically a nice tight knit and small room that you don't have to fight too much for attention. So you're pretty much, you ask a question, Zach is going to spend the time to answer it. So it's actually really good. The fact it's a fairly intimate little setting. And lastly, I was gonna say, we have now modified this. It's no longer a trader support forum, but we actually have a Discord server. And if you haven't used Discord, it's kind of like, it's sort of a cross between a chat and kind of a forum. We have that, and we've been running that for a couple of months now, and it seems to be doing quite well. And then lastly, you can have a private one-on-one training if you need sort of the white glove service. So what we're going to do is actually, let me just jump ahead and talk about a little money back guarantee. We since the inception of our company, we've always had this money back guarantee. It's basically, the idea is we want to take the risk. If you're not sure about using our products, and you've actually tried it and you still, even after you've purchased it, you're still not quite sure about it, you can always just ask for a refund. We have no problem doing this. We stand by our product, and we've been doing that. We've had that policy for many years, as long as I can remember, since we've been running it. Sorry. So what we're going to do is if you do purchase today, or before the end of the month, we're just going to throw in that actual line break bar that you saw, and it's the actual title of it is called the back test line break bar, because as Zach mentioned before, it's actually back testable. Which if you're like, well, that's odd, I thought all bars are back testable. That's actually not the case. And so just through a little nuance with NinjaTrader, it turns out there's a certain way bars have to be in order to be back testable properly. These particular line break bars, of course, the reason what makes them special is they are back testable. And so we probably, if you've been around the block a bit and you've seen us present, you've probably seen a presentation that we've done beforehand about actually back testing. And that's a great thing about Bloodhound is if you purchase it, you actually have the tools now to back test. There's a little strategy that's included that's free, and you can actually use that as a back testing tool. So you can actually test out your indicator or your signals and quantifiably see how good they are. All right, so to get at that little deal with the free line break bar, it's at FILEJune, sharkindicators.com/FILEJune. And when you do that, you will get this little order form here, which has the backtest line break bar in there for free, which is a value of $225. So we're just going to throw that in there, and we'll have that running till the end of June. All right, so that basically sums up our presentation. And so yeah, I realize for a lot of you that if you've been to some of our if you've actually known us for quite some time, this would be considered one of those beginner type webinars. And so I do apologize if some of the beginner stuff sort of bored you out, but hopefully if you're new and you haven't been familiarized with our ecosystem, welcome. This is us. We've been in business for quite some time now. Basically, we launched in 2012, and we've been going strong ever since. And hopefully, you've had a pretty good taste of what one of our flagship products can do. And yeah, just feel free to ask your question in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer it.
Yeah, you know, that's the first time that I've actually seen Bloodhound in action. So that it's not on my platform because I don't have a platform. But wow, the graphical interface is fantastic, man. What a flexible and powerful piece of software you guys have got there. Pretty impressive.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
you know, I guess you've seen a lot, Shane, doing what you do. So I think that's a good compliment.
Yeah, really cool stuff. Well, we got some questions here. Hawkins Faye wants to know, why didn't they have Bloodhound during COVID?
Well, we did. We absolutely we had it since you know, we've been, like I said, doing we've launched Bloodhound in I think it was 2012. It's a little hazy, but
I think he's wondering why he didn't have it during COVID.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, it's not going to solve the pandemic, but you know, hopefully it'll make your time a little bit more enjoyable.
So then the link that you posted earlier, that's where they get the template. Is that correct?
Actually, I'm going to post that in the chat real quick here.
Okay, yeah, please do.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's see, we've got.
So,
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, Jeremy's posting that link here. Yeah, let me go to the next question down here. So Mr. Trader says he has version 8.1.15.8. Yeah, so Mr. Trader, that's an older version. So I definitely recommend that you update there. So there's 15.20, which you're eligible for. And we also have actually 8.1.16 out now as well. Yeah. Let's see. So he's asking, is it possible to open the template with that older version? Yes, it will be. Yeah, but I definitely recommend that you upgrade, you know, to the newest version. So there definitely is some fixes since 15.8. But yeah, version 15 can open this Bloodhound template. So
okay, actually, so I did post the link to the template download installer, and I apologize. Maybe this is something I probably should have done beforehand. Let's see if I can get my guy here to give us a short link here, and I'll get back to you guys about that.
Yeah, but if you want to fire that off on an email to me, or just get on the FIO website and post it to the forum thread, that'd be cool too.
Will do. Yeah.
So do you guys have a webinar? I'm sorry, template market, or is there a third party template market available?
That's a really good question. We don't actually have like an official one. And we certainly don't have any issue with people trading templates and that sort of thing. I think there might be some users on Futures.io that do that.
Let me
if not,
take the screen here. Let me take the screen and
sure.
I can kind of, yeah, help people navigate through that. So there we go. All right, yeah, I was trying to find another location for that template here, but if you go to our website here, and so so basically pre-built templates or, you know, trading system, like probably with who is it, Tito was asking that, or no, Jan was asking. So it's on a vendor by vendor case here. So if you go to our website and go to community, and you can see there's a list of vendors here that directly or indirectly kind of support Bloodhound here. So yeah, you know, there's no centralized place, unfortunately, but you know, I know I can just say that Indicator Smart does have some templates, I believe, Rob Mitchell has some templates. Remick, he actually sells specifically Bloodhound templates. So Remick is in the business of selling Bloodhound templates. Also, if you want, like, if you don't want to take the time to learn Bloodhound and you just want somebody to kind of build, your trading idea, Remick also will do that, on an hourly fee. Lizard Trader, you guys all know Fat Tails if you're Futures IO. Fat Tails, is the owner of Lizard Trader. And they also provide some templates. I don't think they actually, build, quote trading systems, but they do, I believe they do have some templates that to go along with their indicators there, just to kind of help you out. Let's see, Lucrum, I think Lucrum has a Bloodhound template for his flagship indicator. J Auto Trading, Julie also sells Bloodhound templates as well. Let's see, Zone Trader Pro, Chris has a few templates, I believe, to go with his flagship indicator. And let's see, Pure, I don't think Will has any. He might. Ninja, no, I don't think Ninja does. So yeah, it's just really kind of a case by case basis. So if you own some of the indicators from any of these companies, just fire off an email to them and say, hey, do you have any Bloodhound templates, stored away in the back there, and see what you can get your hands on there. So, all right.
Yeah,
So
cool
again,
stuff. Hey, Tito wants to know if you can tell him if Bloodhound can automate trading, basically open and close trades.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, actually, let me preface that.
Okay.
So the answer is, with Bloodhound and what you get with it, you can certainly. So what Bloodhound is an indicator, and in NinjaTrader you have two separate things. You have indicators and you have strategies. An indicator does exactly just that. It just indicates on the chart kind of anything, any sort of data. So our indicator allows you to create, if you like to, with the primary use could be to create trade signals, and to actually take those trade signals and implement them or have them automized. If you're sort of automated, you can use a strategy that's included with Bloodhound called Raven. Yeah, so if he's going to Raven right now, you can just open it up. You just open the same template up, and it'll just put on some simple positions for you. If you've kind of done trading for a little while, you sort of realize that just putting on a profit target or stop loss may or may not be kind of enough. You can use the NinjaTrader ATM and trade ATM positions off of the Bloodhound signals. That's possible as well. It's built into our software. However, we do have another product called Blackbird. That's not really the topic of this webinar, but Blackbird is a really sophisticated trade manager, which integrates with Bloodhound as well, and can take signals from there, or even any other sort of indicator that you may have bought off the shelf or even developed yourself, and it'll manage the trades in a very sophisticated way. In terms of, you can do really a lot of fancy stuff with it. It would sort of take a fair bit of time to explain kind of everything it can do as well. But the short answer is yes. And actually, sorry, just before I forget, I'm going to pop on the screen real quick here the link to that template. So at the top there, I lost my visuals here. You should see a thank you page, and basically the first link there is the order form to get the deal with Bloodhound with the free line break bar. And the second one is the line break bar template, which again can work without the line break bar, but at least when it was designed by Zach, that was sort of the intention, was actually to use it with.
That wasn't me.
Oh,
no,
whoever designed it.
yeah, that was designed by one of our earlier salespeople there.
Okay, there we go.
All right, let's see. So what's our next question here?
All right, August
Yeah,
is
he's
saying, I've been
demoing the
demoing.
line break.
Yeah. Is there a way to get indicators to plot from a regular line break while backtesting? Because if you use the backtest line break, the signals are a bit different versus the regular line break, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, I guess it depends on the indicator. It will be a little different, only because what makes a yeah I kind of had planned to go into this a little bit, but I was a little afraid of running out of time here. So just to give a very, very quick answer or explanation of what makes a bar back testable, right? And this goes for all charting platforms is, what makes a bar back testable is you need the wicks, right? You need the high price, the low price, um, and just as important is you need the correct opening price, right? So I know on Futures IO, there is a wicked line break bar, right? So that gets you, like half of the way there to getting some good backtest or more accurate backtest results, right? Is that wicked line break bar on Futures IO. Although that was for NinjaTrader 7, so I don't know if anybody's updated it for NinjaTrader 8. But there was a line break with wicks. But what's also important for having more correct backtest results is the correct opening price of the bar, right? Because backtesting engines assume that the open price of the bar is where you're going to get filled, right? So when the backtesting results are being done, the open price is used as your fill price, right? So if your bar, so Renko bars and line break bars, they modify the open price, right? And so that generates better backtest results because the open price has been modified to give you a better entry price for the backtesting engine, right? So seeing the true open price of the bar also generates better backtest results, right? So that's the big difference, that this backtestable line break bar is not only does it have the wicks, but it also has the correct opening price as well, right? So kind of a simple rule of thumb is, if your bar, if it builds like a minute bar, like a minute chart, then it's going to give you accurate backtest results. But if your bar type doesn't look like a minute bar, with the wicks and the correct or unmodified open price, then it's going to skew your backtest results there. So, all right. So there you go.
Interesting. Island Puna Dog 1 wants to know, he says when he adds an indicator, he has to disconnect the solver node and then reconnect it in order to see the racing stripes, and wants to know if that's common behavior.
No.
It's possible that his auto or the calculation thing is off.
Yeah, let me show you here. Yeah, make sure this auto update is turned on. It might have been turned off by accident there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you turn it off, then Bloodhound's not going to automatically calculate, and so you have to reload the chart every single time to get it to calculate.
Yeah,
so,
or you just hit the apply button. Actually, that will do it too on the right hand side.
Right. Yeah. So if it's off, hit the apply button there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, that's good if you're doing some a lot of changes and you have a fairly large template. I actually do recommend keeping it off and then hitting the apply button once you've done your changes, and that way it's your computer is not churning and recalculating all the time.
Right. Yeah. Because as you guys kind of saw when I went through the demo, Bloodhound is updating itself instantaneously. So, there's, a lot of traders that love to have charts with like 150 days of data on their chart, right? Way more than you really need to trade with. But, if you're designing a system and you're trying to do backtesting, sure, having 150 bars on your chart is kind of reasonable. And so, if you have a complex system, trying to get the Bloodhound indicator and basically your computer to calculate all that data instantaneously, well, obviously the more data that has to be crunched, the longer it takes. So that's kind of why we implemented this auto update button here. So, if you do want to, build your system or tweak your system on a chart with, a lot of bars, a lot of data, then yeah, you'll want to turn the auto update off. And then when you make a change, just hit apply and it'll do a one-time recalculation for you. So save you a lot of heartache there.
Excuse me. There's actually a follow-up to that from him. He said he was referring to indicators on the chart, not in the Bloodhound.
Yeah, so the indicators on your chart are actually separate. The visual indicators that you see on the chart are ones that you're adding manually, and they're actually separate from the indicators that Bloodhound is keeping internally. So say you've got an SMA 55 on your chart, but internally in Bloodhound, you're working with an SMA 55, but you change the period on it to an SMA 100. Like your visual chart will stay the same because that's just the indicator you last manually put on it, but Bloodhound will use the new one, the SMA 100. So they're two separate things.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, that would be really kind of cool if we could kind of figure out a way to make a direct link. But the way NinjaTrader's designed, an indicator that you put on the chart is a separate instance of that indicator versus the indicator that you use inside of Bloodhound. They're separate instances of each other.
Yeah, I think what he's saying is like when he adds in a NinjaTrader indicator on the chart, then the racing stripes disappear. He has to
Yeah, right. Whenever you do anything modifying the chart, right, NinjaTrader always does a reload. So yeah, so if you're adding an indicator or removing an indicator or changing the indicator settings, yeah, in the background, NinjaTrader automatically does a reload or an F5 on the chart there. And that's going to force Bloodhound to reload as well. So.
Roger that. All right, we've got one more here from Joe Taz. He'd like to know what the cost of a maintenance extension is after the year's up.
Okay, so I guess I'll explain kind of how the maintenance works. First of all, it's 100% optional. And when you purchase Bloodhound, you actually have the use of it for life. And what the and you're entitled to 1 year of full updates or free updates for the software, because we're kind of constantly fixing things, adding new features in, et cetera, et cetera. And if you want to participate in another year of updates, you can purchase an optional maintenance renewal, which for Bloodhound is $155.
Very reasonable. Excellent. Well, guys, I think that's it for the questions. I did want to thank you guys for being here with us, sharing your expertise. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks again, Shane. You're definitely one of the better hosts that we have worked with over almost 10 years now. Yeah, Jeremy and I have been in business for almost 10 years. So yeah, it's good to it's fun to work with an interactive host. So
yeah, well, the pleasure's mine, guys. We really do appreciate it. So we'll catch you next time. All right, folks, that's going to be about wrapping it up. We're about out of time. The video has been recorded and it's going to be posted over at Futures.io, and it's going to be on YouTube within probably 48 hours on this one. So please visit our YouTube channel. While you're there, hit that like button, subscribe, share it with your friends, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Futures.io. Really appreciate it. And again, I thank you for joining us, and trade well.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Take care, guys.
Take care.